Hello children, in this video we will begin with Unit 2.6 Science and Spirituality, which is adapted from a book called What Can I Give by Shrijan Pal Singh. He is an Indian author, public speaker and social entrepreneur. He was born and raised in Lucknow. He worked closely with the former President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Shrijan Pal has always taken Abdul Kalam as his guru and he has learnt a lot from him. In this lesson, we will see what were the different things that he learned from Abdul Kalam when he worked with him closely, his thoughts, his ways of life, and most importantly, how he related the relation between science and religion. So children, now let's read the passage and understand it. We often witness conflict between two groups of people, one that believes in science and the other that believes in religion. Dr. Kalam was a great scientist. This is indisputable. But he was also convinced that fact and faith can together create a better planet. He once told me, science and faith must coexist for the human good. Science provides focus. Focus helps us solve questions, discover the truth, and conceive inventions. Faith provides perspective. Perspective helps us see how our creations and discoveries go on to impact a combination vital for the success of societies. Science accelerates progress and faith curbs it within reasonable limitations. If the two function true to their roles, they will work together for the betterment of humanity. Dr. Kalam's own life was nourished by multiple faiths. So children, Shrijan Pal says that we always see a fight between people who believe in science and religion. They always have a debate between these two topics. Dr. Kalam was a great scientist, as we all know it. But in spite of that, he always believed that science and religion or faith both go hand in hand. Science helps us to focus and religion gives us a particular idea towards something which helps in the success of societies. He says that science and religion should be used for the good of humanity. Dr. Kalam was a Muslim, but he too had relations with people belonging to various religions. His father, a boatman, also served as an imam at their local mosque, and his two best friends were from two different religions. One was a Hindu and the other was a Christian. Pakshi Lakshmana Shastrigal was the head priest of the famous Rameshwara temple and a Vedic scholar, and the Reverend Father Bodil had built the first church on Rameshwara island. Dr. Kalam recalled how all three of them, in the unique attire of their religion, used to sit and discuss the community's problems and find solutions. Throughout the nation and the world, the need to have a frank dialogue among cultures, religions, and civilizations is felt now more than ever. When asked where he got his humility from, Dr. Kalam would always attribute it to his father. In him, he saw how simplicity and divinity could go together. Even though his father was a boatman and Dr. Kalam went on to become the President of India, They shared the same values in life. Both believed that if one leads a spiritual life, then that spirituality can lift them out of any kind of confusion, misery, or failure. So, Dr. Kalam was born in Tamil Nadu and his father worked as a boatman and also served as an imam, that is a person who leads prayer in a mosque, that is an imam. He had two best friends. One was Pakshi Lakshmana Shastrigal, who was a Hindu and also the head priest at the famous Rameshwara temple, and Father Bodil, who was a Christian and had built the first church on Rameshwara island. Dr. Kalam just remembers how the three of them used to sit in their respective religious clothes and discuss about the problems that are caused due to the misunderstanding caused due to various religions that are being portrayed in a false manner. He says that we need this open discussion on faith and religion in the present times because people are being targeted with the name of religion. When Dr. Kalam was asked about his simple life, he said that he learnt about his simplicity from his father. Dr. Kalam chose to live a simple life in spite of having all the privileges. In the 1960, when Dr. Kalam joined ISRO, he was just a fledgling organization. His interactions with the great scientist Professor Vikram Sarabhai and the Reverend Peter Bernard Pereira shaped his thoughts on religion. It was here that he learned about the true meaning of religion service. Professor Sarabhai and his team had selected a site in Tumba, Kerala, to set up their science research facility. It was an ideal site due to its proximity to the magnetic equator. But there was a major roadblock in getting possession of the site, as it was the fishing grounds of the Tumbas fishermen. Moreover, it had an old church of Saint Mary Magdalene, a bishop's house, and a school, which was under the administration of the church. Government officials predicted that it would be impossible to relocate so many people from the site and destroy religious institutions for the sake of a space research center. So Dr. Kalam joined ISRO in 1960 when ISRO was still new and inexperienced organization. His thoughts on religion were shaped as he worked with Vikram Sarabhai, who was a great scientist and is also called as the father of Indian science program. And next was Reverend Peter Bernard Pereira, who was a bishop in Kerala. So Professor Sarabhai and his team had finalized a place in Tumba in Kerala to build their space research center because it was the perfect place due to its closeness to the space, to the magnetic equator. But there was a big problem that was preventing them from building the center because that place which they had selected was a fishing ground for people in Tumba. People earned from there. Their livelihood was based in the fishing from that place. And on top of it, there was an old church of Saint Mary Magdalene and also a school, and that there was the bishop's house too. The government officials told the team that it was impossible to build the center here because this place was very important to the people living there, and it would be impossible to give a new place for so many people in another place, and the people would also lose their jobs. But upon Dr. Sarabai's persistence, it was suggested that they approach the only person who could help them in this situation. Father Pereira, the then bishop of the region, Dr. Sarabai, and Dr. Kalam approached Father Pereira on a Saturday evening. The Reverend said, "O Vikram, you are asking me for my children's abode, for my abode, and for God's abode. How is it possible?" Father Pereira then invited the party to visit the church on a Sunday morning. Dr. Sarabai, his team, and the forever inquisitive disciple, Dr. Kalam, took up the offer. At church the next Sunday, the Reverend invited Dr. Sarabai up to the dais after the prayer service. Turning to everyone present, he said, "Dear children, here is a scientist, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. What does science do for us? We benefit from the devices that science has developed to light up our homes. I am able to talk to you using this mic. Thanks to technological advancement, medical science allows doctors to diagnose and treat patients. Science and technology enhance the overall comfort and quality of human life. And what do I do as a preacher? I pray for your well being, and for your peace. In short, Vikram and I are doing the same job. Both science and spirituality seek the Almighty's blessings for the prosperity of the human mind and body." So, children, but Dr. Sarabai anyhow wanted to build the research center on that place. So, the government officials told him that the only option for them was to go and talk to the bishop, that is Peter Bernard Pereira, as he was the only person who could help them. Dr. Sarabai and Dr. Kalam met the father. He told them that they wanted to take away his children's place, that is, the father told them this on listening to what they wanted. He told that you are asking me for my children's house, for my God's house, and for all the people who are residing and earning from this place. It is very impossible for me to do this. But Father later on invited them to come to the church next Sunday morning, and Vikram Sarabhai and Dr. Kalam agreed with it. The next Sunday approached, and the father invited Dr. Sarabhai towards the platform after the prayer was over. Father looked towards everyone who had come there for the prayer, that is the Mass, and told everyone the importance of science and how science helps in the progress of human life, and also compared it with religion, as religion also helps in development of human lives through spiritual well-being. Dear children, Dr. Vikram says that within a year he wants to build scientific facilities near the sea coast, replacing all the settlements that now stand there. Now, can you give up your abode? Can I give up my abode? Can we give up God's abode for such a great scientific mission? Dr. Kalam recalled how he witnessed a pin drop silence for a long moment. Then everyone got up, and the whole church reverberated with the deafening noise of a collective Amen. And so Work on the research center was soon underway, but not without alternate accommodation being offered to the affected fishermen, the church, and the Reverend Pereira. So the father then came to the important point when he was speaking to all the people present there. He asked that what Sarabhai wanted from them. He wanted to tell that what they wanted from them. He asked everyone present there if they could sacrifice their homes, their jobs for science and the development of the country. There was a pin drop silence for a moment, but then everyone stood up and echoed loudly with a loud noise, and they said, Amen, which meant that they were ready to sacrifice all the things for the country's and humans' development. So, soon after, they started building up the research center, and all the people who had given up their homes were relocated and given new houses. A few years later, in the early 1980s, Professor Satish Dhawan, the director of ISRO, under whom Dr. Kalam had made his first unsuccessful launch in 1970 and then a successful one in 1980, had provided him with more soul-shaping wisdom. One day, in 2012, we were discussing the number of PhDs Dr. Kalam had received. He said to me, Srijan, Professor Dhawan had so many master degrees, all from the best institutions, no less. So I asked him how one can become so academically accomplished. He responded saying that academic brilliance is no different from the brilliance of a mirror, which can be diminished by a coating of dust. Only when the dust is removed does the mirror shine and the reflection becomes clear. We can remove the impurities obscuring our souls by living pure and ethical lives and by serving humanity. And then God will shine through us. These words took me back to my meeting with Dr. Kalam after my graduation from IIMA in 2009. At the time, he had advised me to use my degree and gold medal to transform the society I lived in. Back in the present moment, it suddenly struck me that Dr. Kalam's advice had, in fact, directly resonated from Professor Dhawan's beliefs. The more I lived and worked with Dr. Kalam, the more I realized that through his words of wisdom, I was getting to learn from countless great minds. So, children, in the early 1980s, Dr. Kalam worked under Professor Satish Dhawan, who was the director of ISRO. Dr. Kalam had his own failures in life before he succeeded in his life. Once in 2012, when Dr. Kalam and Srijan Pal were discussing the PhD degrees that Dr. Kalam had received, so Dr. Kalam told Srijan Pal that even Professor Dhawan has so many master degrees. He further said that the degree matters only when we do not let any dust settle on them. Apart from the number of degrees, we need to be good humans. We need to serve humanity. And then again, when Srijan Pal had a meeting with Dr. Kalam in 2009, that time Srijan Pal had completed his graduation from IIMA, that is Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. That time, Dr. Kalam had advised Srijan Pal Singh to use his degree and all the gold medals that he had received for the betterment of the society. So, while Shrijanpal was remembering all these moments in the past, he came to know that as he was working with Dr. Kalam, he got more and more knowledge and wisdom from him, and whatever knowledge Dr. Kalam passed on to him, he could see that Dr. Kalam too had learned all this from the people he had worked with, like Professor Dhawan, Father Pereira, and many other. So, Shrijanpal was getting advices from Dr. Kalam, but through different great minds. In April 2009, Dr. Kalam was invited to attend the 102nd birthday celebration of His Holiness Dr. Shri Shri Shivakumara Mahaswamiji in the Tumkur district of Karnataka. Mahaswamiji is a remarkable person who has dedicated his life to the service of humanity. His greatest contribution is the establishment of a free residential education system for more than 9,000 children in the ashram. The most astonishing aspect of the entire event of his birthday was that the 102-year-old Swamiji stood on his feet without any support. He looked as steady and alert as any other youngster present there. This display of inner strength touched Dr. Kalam deeply. A couple of days later, we were discussing this unusual birthday party. I said to him, "Sir, do you know only 4 out of 1 lakh people cross the age of 100. I had googled the subject beforehand." He replied, "But how many of these 4 would be able to stand tall for half an hour, give a wise discourse, and then go on to feed thousands of children?" Of course, nobody could know the exact answer to his question, but the question itself led to many other relevant queries. I wonder what powers Mahaswamiji possesses that keeps him so strong at such an advanced age. Maybe it's a balanced diet and a healthy lifestyle. Or perhaps it's genetics, I asked. So Dr. Kalam in April 2009 was invited to a 102nd birthday party of a spiritual leader of Karnataka named Shivakumara. He had done many good works towards the society and humanity, like the ashram that he built for the education of thousands of poor children. So, in the party, Dr. Kalam noticed something very unusual, that in spite of Mahaswamiji being 102 years old, he was standing on his feet for more than half an hour and looked very energetic with great strength like any other young person. Dr. Kalam was surprised after and was inspired after looking at him. So, after a few days of the party, Dr. Kalam and Shrijanpal were discussing about the unusual party. Shrijanpal told Kalam that only 4 out of 1 lakh people can cross the age of 100. And he had googled this. To this, Dr. Kalam said that not all the 4 people that cross the age of 100 can be as active as Mahaswamiji. He told that in spite of his age, he talked to people standing in one place for half an hour. and also feeds so many children in his ashram. To this, even Sri Pal started questioning that from where does Mahaswamiji get so much of strength at this age? It could either be healthy lifestyle or maybe he might have got it from his family. That may be genetics. Dr. Kalam sat contemplating deeply. He recollected the tenet of goodness of action from Pramukh Swamiji, then perhaps swimming in silence to the shores of Mahapragyaji, he gathered the sands of conscience to be our guide, our best friend, deeper down in the space-time of memory. He must have heard Professor Brahma Prakash's words about the need of living a pure and ethical life, and Father Pereira's and Dr. Sarabai's lesson of selflessness in service. Eventually, his thoughts would have settled on Swami Sivanand of Rishikesh, in whom he saw great tranquility, and finally they must have come full circle with the memory of the life of simplicity of his father, who always espoused the value of giving back. At long last he spoke. It is the very spirit of what can I give? He elaborated. Mahaswamiji lives with the belief and ethos of our mission. He gives and gives education to famished minds, food to famished bodies. In giving so much, he becomes strong. His munificence fuels his strength. That is what keeps him standing tall and active in life. The essence of a happy life and a peaceful society lies in one sentence. What can I give? Turning to me, he asked, what is the reverse of what can I give? Circumspectly, I replied, what can I take? So, children, to all the questions Srijan Pal had asked, Dr. Kalam started thinking about all of them very deeply. He also started thinking and remembering of all the people he had met and worked with in the past, about all the things that he learned from them, like living a pure life, lessons of selflessness, and also his own father who taught him to live a simple life and the value of supporting others. At last, when he finished thinking, he told that it is the very spirit of what can I give, and explained further that Mahaswamiji does so much for the people. He gives education, he gives food to the poor, and so much more to the poor and the needy. So all the blessings from the poor, he gets them, and this makes him strong, even at the age of 102. After that, he questions Srijan Pal of what would be the opposite of what can I give. So Srijan Pal very cautiously answers that it would be what can I take? Yes, he said, and that is the thought which is responsible for all the wrong we see around us. We think that we can take from the environment and destroy it indiscriminately. We think of what we can take from other humans, leading us to corruption and inequity. This attitude of taking and taking even destroys families. To keep this planet livable and the human race thriving, we have to replace this attitude of what can I take with the goodness of what can I give. The gravity of the message struck me. This challenge became my silent motivation. 3 years later, in 2012, this idea became a reality as a What Can I Give movement, through which Dr. Kalam tried to combat corruption, environmental degradation, and social evils. It is important that we ask ourselves this question, for in the answer lies the truth of humanity. So, go ahead and question yourself. What can I give? The answers will be astounding. So, children, Dr. Kalam agreed with Srijan Pal that and told that the thing that is responsible for all the wrong that is happening around in the world, he says that we all think that what can we take from the nature and the environment instead of what can we give. He further says that we need to change our attitude, or if we want this planet to be surviving, then we need to change our attitude from what can I take to what can I give, because what can I take has destroyed not only the environment but also the families. We should be selfless. We should give to the society. Srijan Pal was motivated with the message that Dr. Kalam had given him. And 3 years later, in 2012, this idea and the message became a reality as they started with a movement called What Can I Give?, in which they tried to fight corruption, environmental degradation, and social evils. So, Srijan Pal tells his readers that we all too should try to ask this question to ourselves of what can I give? And when you truly understand it, the answers that you will get will be amazing. Okay, children, with this we have now completed with the explanation of science and spirituality. Thank you for listening, children. Take care.